Welcome back to JetKoa Sports. Team USA has advanced from group play with one game still remaining. The Giannis trade rumors are heating up, and the Seattle Mariners are having a down year, but so is the entire American League, so they still have a legitimate shot to make the World Series. I will go through World Cup news as of today, with Argentina, France, and Norway having played today with fireworks galore. Well, Norway is technically still in the second half of their second group game as of this recording. And then I will discuss my thoughts on the Giannis saga before moving to the diamond to talk trade deadline and playoff push for the ball team up in the Emerald City. My name is David, and this is JetKoa Sports. The United States clinched their advance to the knockout stages with a 2-0 win over Australia on Friday. USA started strong, applying early pressure, which eventually led to an own goal in the 11th minute. United States was attacking hard, and there was a cross coming into a fast-approaching Balogun, and the Australian defense kind of freaked out and kicked the ball into their own net. Then the second goal was set up via a nice set piece. Sergino Dest received a pass at the top of the 18 from a free kick, and he fired on goal. The shot was ultimately deflected, and Alex Freeman was Johnny on the spot as he was able to head the deflected ball into the back of the net. After review, the goal was confirmed, and the U.S. went into the half with a 2-0 lead. And they thoroughly dominated Australia in the first half. It was clear who the better team was in the first half. However, the U.S. would come out flat in the second half and struggle for the remainder of the match. The United States was up 2 goals, so they could afford to sit back and defend, but they did not play well in the second half. Australia looked like the better team in the second half for most of the second half. The United States could not string together more than 2 passes. It seemed like long stretches of the second half, the third pass was always off target and or to the other team. And we weren't passing to feet, which forces the receiver of the pass to change their momentum to go accept the pass. And then we were just making bad pass decisions. When you are passing the ball to get away from a fast attacking defender, you don't pass in the same direction of the sprinting defender, because then they can just run right through you and chase the ball still. You're not gaining anything. Passing is the strongest weapon in soccer because you can change where the ball is on the pitch instantaneously. But if you pass into their sprint, you are only helping the defender. And the U.S. did that continuously in the second half. And Australia took advantage, and they were applying lots of pressure. Australia has a decent team, but this would have been a much different story against any of the top-tier squads. In the knockout stages, that half of football would cause the USA to lose. The U.S. came out cocky and overconfident in the second half. Ultimately, you got to finish the game, the full 90 minutes, as it were. You have to do this, play a full 90 to be able to be confident in your performance. You can't get cocky 70 minutes in, 45 minutes in, even 85 minutes in. You have to play the full game. There are no half measures in the World Cup. And this is a U.S. squad that can compete this year. A squad that is showing on the field that they can compete. So cleaning up the mental lapses will give them their best shot at winning these knockout games. The other teams in Group D, Australia and Paraguay, both have 3 points in the group, and they play each other next. So win and you are in for both of those teams as the second place finisher of Group D. All right, enough with Group D and the United States. Moving to Group C, the picture is getting clearer. Brazil beat Haiti 3-0, which I believe I said in the last video would happen, that Brazil would put up 3 against Haiti. But In the process, Brazil lost their top goal scorer in Rafinha. He led the team in goals during qualifying, and he was off to a great start against Haiti. I actually placed a wager on him scoring a goal during that match with Haiti, and 20 minutes into the match, it looked promising. My bet, that is, looked promising. And so did Brazil, but I digress. Rafinha was highly involved and had multiple opportunities on goal. He actually netted one, but it was ultimately called offsides after review. And then terror struck. Rafinha went down with a leg injury and was removed from the match. It appears to be a hamstring injury, and he will not play in Game 3 of group play. My lost bet aside, Brazil needs Rafinha back if they have a chance at winning at all. Like, if they have any chance, they need Rafinha. Next, Brazil plays a Scotland team that needs a win to stay alive in the tournament. There are ultimately scenarios where a tie can see Scotland advance from the group, but with Morocco drawing Haiti in Game 3, those scenarios are kind of hard to fathom. So Scotland will be playing against Brazil, and they will be playing for a win. Brazil, on the other hand, would most likely be fighting for one of the third-place spots in the knockout rounds if they lose to Scotland. So Brazil is going to come out and play hard in this game against Scotland. The other Group C game saw Morocco beat that same Scotland squad 1-0, which put Morocco in a tie with Brazil in terms of points, but in second place by goal differential. Morocco will need to score 3+ goals to have a shot at winning the group because of the goal differential tiebreaker. Brazil, again, they dropped 3 against Haiti. They scored 1 against Morocco, so they're sitting at 4 goals, and Morocco only has the 2 that they've scored. So they gotta score 3 at least against Haiti. Morocco is a defensive team, so it's going to be interesting to see if they go for a win, like a big win against Haiti, change their tactics to go try to put up 3, 4, 5 goals, which would still require some help from Brazil, right? Because if Brazil goes and puts up 2 or 3 goals against Scotland, then Morocco would still finish second. So does Morocco choose to go try to score 3 or 4 goals and win? Or will they just choose to play their normal defensive style, win the game, advance in second place? Like, they don't really need to push it if they don't want to. And sometimes changing your tactics will really screw up the outcome on the field. And then the fourth team in this group, Haiti, they were a nice story making the World Cup. It's awesome that we're going to see some new countries into the tournament. Hopefully will help that nation grow the game of football. But ultimately, yeah, it was just a nice story, and they have been eliminated from advancement. Mexico has also locked a spot in the knockout stages, and Canada has put themselves in great position to advance as well. So all 3 host nations should be playing knockout games next week, which is pretty darn cool given that this is the first multi-host tournament. Germany is also moving out of group play after beating the Ivory Coast 2-1 over the weekend. And Group F is similar to Group C in that there are plenty of scenarios for how this group will finish. Holland will most likely advance, having only Tunisia left to play. And Tunisia lost to both the teams Holland has already beaten and or tied. Japan could advance by tying Sweden. And Sweden can guarantee a trip to the knockouts if they win against Japan. In today's action, we saw Messi grab 2 more goals. He is the leading scorer in World Cup history with 18 goals. However, Mbappe also got 2 goals today, and he may take this record from Messi in 4 years. Mbappe sits at 27 years old with 16 goals. Messi has 18 goals and is 38 years young. Outside of age, Messi doesn't seem to be getting any older. But anyways, Messi, 18 goals, 38 years old. Mbappe, 15 goals, 27 years old. I will let you do the math there. but it seems like Mbappe has a pretty good shot of overtaking Messi in the next 2 World Cups. And speaking of math, can the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics add up enough pieces to make the math work to land Giannis in a trade? Hey, y'all, brief intermission here. I am about to go into the Giannis trade saga and what my thoughts were and what option I would go with if I was Milwaukee. And then I woke up this morning and Giannis had been traded. So I'm going to leave this next segment in the video because I did nail it on the head. But Giannis was traded, so it kind of makes my whole segment worthless. Enjoy. It looks like we have trimmed the Giannis sweepstakes down to Miami and Boston. Everybody loves playing in Miami, and Giannis is no different. The city, the weather, the vibe, all top notch. And Eric Spoelstra is a fantastic coach, arguably one of the best in the NBA. And Pat Riley has been a shrewd businessman over the years running Miami, the business operations in Miami. He's been bringing in talent and titles to the Sunshine State for 20 years now. This trade will come down to what Milwaukee wants in return. Miami has the draft capital and an NBA player or two to throw in, while Boston has a superstar in Jaylen Brown on the table. So, is Milwaukee looking to build around Brown? Do they think they can get enough pieces around Jaylen Brown before his timeline goes onto a downward slope? Or do they just want to tear it down and rebuild? Again, I'm not really sure what the Bucks want to do in the first place outside of getting rid of Giannis. But I do find it hard to believe the Bucks will transition from trying to build around Giannis to just trading him for Jaylen Brown and trying to build around Jaylen Brown. And seriously think like that's going to work and turn things around for Milwaukee. Especially with the Dame Lillard dead money. So I think the Bucks ultimately decide to reboot from scratch and grab the draft capital from the Heat. So, probably Giannis going to Miami, which would be cool. But I am going to throw this out here again. And I am not sure if it will work out, but the Spurs need another big to take the defensive load off of Wemby. And De'Aaron Fox does not have a starting position in San Antonio anymore. They have Stephon Castle, who will be the guard of the future. Dylan Harper will be the other guard of the future. There is no room for De'Aaron Fox. He would be relegated to like sixth man of the year type of role and leading the second unit, which he would be great at. But he's also the Spurs' most expensive player, so that doesn't quite make sense having him leading the second unit. Then the Spurs also have the draft capital. So the Bucks could get a top-tier point guard and draft picks to kickstart a rebuild without giving up on basketball completely. Like, they could still go win games next year with De'Aaron Fox and then get a bunch of draft capital to be rebuilding throughout the entire process. And a Spurs team with Giannis would be crazy to watch. But it could destroy the San Antonio chemistry. So I'm unsure if the Spurs would even do it if given the chance. They have championship talent already in place. So this might not be worth it for 1-2 years of peak Giannis. Moving to baseball. Teams are shifting their focus on areas of improvement to make their respective playoff pushes. The American League is having a brutal 2026. We have 5 teams in the American League with a winning record. 5. That is out of 15 American League teams. Only 33% of the teams are winning more than they lose. That is absolutely brutal. And it is head-scratching. The Blue Jays have talent and a massive payroll, and they were in the World Series last year. They're terrible. The Orioles and the Red Sox have plenty of good young talent. Both terrible. The Tigers have some talent, and they made the playoffs the last 2 years. Again, terrible. The Athletics have some young offensive talent, and they will be a strong competitor for years to come. but they don't have the pitching. I said that before the year started, although you're starting to see signs of their young pitchers that are coming up, and they're performing well. Athletics are not going to compete for a World Series this year, but they still might make the playoffs this year, and they will be a solid team for years to come. Anyways, every team in the AL is struggling outside of Tampa and New York. And then you got the Mariners, who seem to have righted the ship. These are really your three contenders to represent the AL in the World Series. I picked the Yankees to win the AL East, and that is still looking strong. But I did not see the Rays coming along this year. I knew Junior Caminero was going to hit, and hit well. I knew their pitching would be better than average, and I knew the fundamentals would be there in Tampa. But everything is fit together so nicely in Tampa, while everything else in the AL is burning down around them. It is the perfect storm for Tampa to make the playoffs. And having said that, I believe the Rays will work to unload some prospects at the deadline so they can give 2026 a proper push towards a championship. Yes, the Dodgers will likely be waiting for whichever team the AL sends their way, but anyone can win a 7-game series. All the Rays need to do is make it to the dance. Also, the Yankees and the Mariners have very strong pitching staffs already, so I think the Rays may be the only AL contender truly gunning for Tarek Skubal. Now, the Dodgers may snag Skubal as well, but the Rays should be all in. And then they need to add an impact bat for sure. Maybe 2, but they at least need 1. They have a +8 run differential, which is not good. Their record is amazing based on that run differential. So the Rays need to find more runs if they have a shot at beating teams in October. Seattle is rounding into form, and they need their offense to start clicking during the final 2+ months. They have the pitching staff to shut down any opponent on any given night, especially when you shorten the starting rotation in the playoffs. Seattle's rotation is only matched by the Yankees in the AL, with the Yanks quintet performing a bit better in 2026. And with a down AL, we can probably narrow it down to these 3 teams. But ultimately, the Yankees will advance to the World Series. They have retaken the AL East lead with Judge sitting the last 3 weeks, and they will get Judge back, and they will strengthen the bullpen at the deadline. Their rotation is better than Seattle's. Their offense is better than Seattle's, and their stars are better than Seattle's. The Yankees could use a lefty bat at the trade deadline, and more specifically, a lefty infield bat. Thanks for joining us at JetKoa Sports. The World Cup continues with group play ending after this Saturday's games. On Sunday, June 28th, we will see the first knockout game featuring the second-place teams from Groups A and B. As of today, that game would feature South Korea versus Switzerland. And in that scenario, I would bet on South Korea to advance from the first knockout game, if that indeed is the matchup. I will continue to drop shorter vids covering World Cup action and any other sports stories that I deem worthy. Please remember to subscribe to catch all of my antics. And good night and good luck.